I'm going to go ahead and start the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Overthinking Football Show. I do this every Monday to Friday, 12:30 in the afternoon, and also Monday to Wednesday at 8 p.m. In the evening. Of course, we also do other watch-alongs. We've been watching a lot of football together, so thank you for that. If you do miss out on any of the shows, you can head on over to Facebook and YouTube. All of them will be up there, and you can watch what was previously said on the live stream, on the live show. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Also, I have introduced a subscription package on Facebook, 18 Rand a month, where you can come in and you'll be given access to a subscriber hub. There'll be live shows for subscribers, content that's going to go out to subscribers first, and also shout outs and all those type of things. The reason being, Facebook has decided to block me from monetizing my lives, and YouTube has decided to not allow me to monetize anything, even though I qualify. So even though I didn't want to put it on you guys to help keep all of this content up, I'm going to ask that you please subscribe on that side and help me out, man. Help me do this. Help me carry on doing this. So let's go, guys. Today, it's been a long time. I wanted to do a structured chat about youth development, but I think I'm going to save that for tomorrow in the afternoon. Vikarabelo, thank you so much for the roses. Because we haven't been able to have our chats as normal. So I wanted to make today a day where we can have an open discussion as we normally do. So guys, drop the topics that you would like to speak about in the comments, and then we can cover one or two of them with a panel and go from there. In the meantime, there's been breaking news. So please drop the topics you want to speak about in the comments and we'll go for it. But in the meantime, everybody had been asking me for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks about where Ucele is going to end up. Ucele, who'd been playing for Polish team Radom, is said to have been offered a 3-year contract by Kaizer Chiefs, but he's turned it down to join King Fakel Voronezh, a Russian Premier League side. That is where Ucele is going to be going after so many weeks of rumors. Khoza, how are you doing? Kalagata, what happened to Banyana? Is that one of the topics that you want to speak about? We can. We covered them at length during the time, but we can go ahead and speak about it. So I'll note it down. And then the other big news is Ukele Pimenyimana, the Black Panther. IPM has also been released by Kaizer Chiefs after playing 1 year. He scored 8 goals, 5 of them being penalties, and he had a very interesting reaction. He put on his story, his Instagram story. This is what his Instagram story post caption said. It was a hard decision to take, but after all what happened, it's worth it. All I can say is thank you, Lord. My prayers have been answered. I feel really happy to be free. God never disappoints me. I can't wait for the next chapter. Apparently, there were loan inquiries in the DSTV Premiership, Ukraine, and a concrete offer arriving from Ekstraklasa in Poland, with Europe being his preferred next move, but nothing materialized. He came close to joining Moroccan giants Wydad AC, but the move failed at the last minute after Pimenyimana had already gone to Morocco. So there we have it. We released Upimenyimana, a guy that we had questions about, and you know, Shem, he scored his 8 goals. He helped in some of the games with the penalties that he scored, but it just wasn't to be. And you know what's the crazy part? The crazy part is that I think the question we should ask is, what did the scouting at Chiefs show? What did the scouting at Chiefs show? You know, we know that apparently he went on trial at Kaizer Chiefs and he was first turned down. Apparently they'd rejected him. And then later on, we go and sign the guy. Let's see some of the questions. And later on, we go and sign the guy. And it turns out that he's a complete flop. So the question is, what was the scouting report on Pimenyimana when he was brought in And why did they bring him in? And then do we have to question some of the other signings we have that are coming in? Abo Saile, then there's Gonzalez, who's rumored to be coming to us, Khoza said, Caleb said, thank you, God. It was so bad that he said, thank you, God, for us leaving. And I don't know if the thank you, God, is what was happening on the club side, or if, he learned what it means to play for the bigger club in SA. When the fans don't like you, you trend every week. When the fans don't like you, you'll be on the newspapers every single day. And that's part of the pressure of playing for us. Caleb is a striker that feeds on the assist, taps in scrappy goals, but the supply wasn't there at Chiefs, which is true. There wasn't a style of play for him. And to be honest with you, I see Chivavairo going exactly the same way. I don't think Chivavairo is going to have a future here at Kaizer Chiefs. I don't think he's going to stay very long because the type of chances that he wants, he's not probably going to get. So we'll see. Saile was another one who arrived. Kalagata says, but there's a problem with Chiefs. Clearly the problem is Kaizer Chiefs. I did a TikTok where I spoke about how many players Kaizer Chiefs have taken, and some of them were stars, and it didn't work out. And it seems as though some of these guys also don't work out. And I think I'm over blaming the players. I'm over blaming the players. You Piminimana, you Saile. Kaizer Chiefs comes and offers you a contract to come play for them. I'm not going to turn it down. If Kaizer Chiefs was to come to me right now and put a contract in front of me, I'd sign it. So maybe now, the likes of Kambole. Thank you, Sbusiso. So maybe now is time. It's been time actually for us to look at the club and say, what are we doing? I saw two topics: PSL top 10 players to watch this season. We just need to structure that, and then also our PSL players know and understand the profession of being a footballer. Okay, let me get two more, then we can pick which ones we can speak about. Understand the profession of being a footballer. So that's why people like Awutsela are looking at Chiefs and going, you know what, guys, I'm going to stay in Europe. He was playing in Poland. So it's like, wait again, I don't want to stress myself by going to you guys while you guys are rebuilding and trying to find yourselves. Let me just sign to Russia and just stay there in Russia. Well, move over to Russia, stay in Eastern Europe, and just, live a nice life that side. Okay, so I'm going to open up the topics. PSL not taking our soccer seriously. Okay, that's a chat we could have, because we could have an open chat about that one. I think I'm going to go with that one. The PSL is not taking the football seriously, and we can make it from the financial sense, from the actual game sense. And what else? Should we... PSL worst and best signing so far. These are good. I think I'll use them on the other days. And then refereeing in general. Let's do this. I want to do... Because the other ones seem like they need a little bit of research. Let's do this. We'll do refereeing in general. So let's do refereeing in SA. And then let's do the PSL not taking football seriously. So I'm going to open up the lines. Guys, please feel free to jump on. You have to be following me in order for you to join me. Process and system for scouting players. Oh, man. System for scouting players. Let's do scouting. Actually, let's do scouting. Scratch that, we're going to do scouting. So let's talk about the scouting of our players and how it works. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, and you, man. How are you?
No, I'm okay. Let's do this scouting thing, because I think there's a couple of things we can speak about in that end. What are your general thoughts about scouting in SA?
From what I've seen, it's the best of both worlds. The good and the bad. The Binyimana situation just shows how terrible the scouting process can be. it's very rare you hear a player like the emphasis on thank God. Do you know how relieved you must be? Like when you've been through the worst, you just say, "Thank God, I'm done."
God
And
answered
then,
my prayers.
bruh, no man,
God
you see,
answered my prayers.
this is the sad part of just assuming that everybody will fit into your structure.
Yeah.
You know, I think it does it. I do not have a problem with it as much, the scouting process. But then I feel like if the systems were as good as they are, because we've seen them in Europe, they've failed, they've succeeded. Scouting, it's betting on a player that it's betting and hoping that a player will produce the kind of result you want.
Yeah.
But then in South Africa, there are a lot of misses, when you're scouting players from the lower leagues, players from overseas. I've seen scouting being successful in South Africa when you scout in the PSL, players you already know and players you know how they play.
Let's
So
start
that's
with, let's start with the clubs, because I want to start internal to the clubs, then we can move out. Do clubs know what they're looking for, Khoza? Because for me, sometimes it feels like, like you pick it. Sometimes it feels like the clubs will go, like, for example, let's take example, Usaile at Kaizer Chiefs. Saile was found in the second division of the Zambian league, of Zambia, ne? And you ask yourself, when he got here and he couldn't play and we didn't know where he fits in and all of that stuff, you ask yourself, do the clubs themselves, step one, know what they're looking for?
It's, sometimes, especially with the big clubs, when you think you have the perfect players and you let's say in general, that you must fix your midfield. Sometimes you can miss the specifications of what am I missing in the midfield, I want to make an example of Sundowns. You see, they took Kutumela. Kutumela was having a wonderful. I forgot where he was playing before he joined Sundowns. He was playing, but then what happened to him last season? Like, are there moments where you can tell me that Kutumela had a season last year? He played well, go Sundowns last season. I do not remember Kutumela doing anything at Sundowns. Those are the things that the clubs know the overall reason why they want a certain player, but then it goes beyond just saying I want to fix my midfield. What in the midfield do you want to fix? Look at Goodman Mosela. Goodman Mosela went to, where was it, Pirates. He was on and off. Cheaper took him, and look what he does. I think it's the second game he's won one man of the match. So sometimes the clubs miss the importance of the intricacies of scouting a play. They just focus on the overall. And sometimes with the PSL, I feel like we chase names, we chase names. You wouldn't sign you won't sign a player from ABC Motsepe League just in J. But then you're gonna sign somebody who plays in the Malawian league and he doesn't perform when he comes here. So they do chase names. And look at the center forward position at Chiefs. They need a center forward at Chiefs. They need it, but what do? They sign a Binyaman. I mean, like, you see, sometimes these guys are either in a hurry or they want names. They thought signing him would benefit them somehow, but then these clubs are not serious. I mean, yeah.
Let me bring in Senzo. Senzo, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? And what's up to the panel?
So we're talking about these processes and systems for scouting, but I want to start in the clubs. Do our South African clubs understand what they need within their clubs when they're going to go fetch players, whether it be existing players or the youth players or going to scout outside?
Right now, honestly speaking, not all the other clubs are doing it. I think there's only one club that's doing it, and it's Sundowns, and it's proof in the pudding where the results are showing. Every time they do scouts, regardless if they sign 5 players, 3 out of those 5 players are going to come and dominate. A lot of people were saying, what's Jali doing coming back? Jali came back, took player of the season. People were like, why are you signing Rowan? You have Onyango, Rowan came, dominated. Motaung, Lekay, the list goes on and on. Shalulile, the list goes on and on. Even international, bringing players like Serino, Allende. These are quality players, So Sundowns has a model of how they're doing it, and I think it's because of Pitso. There's a certain style they want to play, a certain identity. So it's easy for them to look for players that go for their identity. And now they've even mixed it up now. They've never had flair players, but now Ngu, is it Ndu or Ngu, Masego, Nku and Masego. Those are naturally left-footed, stylish players. So you can see Sundowns is showing us that they are trying to fix their system or improve their system within growing and introducing new players. And then you have teams like Pirates and Chiefs, which I think they're stuck in the model of they still want to sign players because of hype or name. And it's not bad to sometimes sign a player who's experienced, but you must sign according to what you need and what you don't need. It's been 4 or 5 games. Pirates, we even had a live where we were talking about Kapinga. It's been 5 games. Where's Kapinga? Where's Kapinga? Otladise, where is he? The players that Pirates signed this season, who's there? Who's performing there? And you can see the same thing with the rest of the other teams in the league, is that sometimes I think it's a signing of of names, like Khoza was saying, we sign because of Unekama, because sometimes you ask yourself, players like Ryan Moon, who was playing for Arrows now, well, what did Arrows see? What did Arrows see? There's players that you can say, Abo Cross, that's a good signing, but he wasn't on the starting line. He wasn't playing. Why not? So I think most of the time, also with the PSL, also changing like coaches so much, it always changes the structure of the team. Look at the teams that are doing well. They've had the coach for a long time. When you look at Stellenbosch, it's working because they've had a coach who they understand. Supersport coach that's been there and it's working. Then now you have Sundowns coach, long time, it's working. You have Cape Town City, long-time coach, it's working. So you can see where there is a certain structure in the upper management that it trickles down also to the scouting. And you will see it in the development teams, you see it in the professional teams. There's a certain structure, Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring Sazi. Kamelite in the comments says, I think the problem with Chiefs, for example, they don't have an identity, so they don't know what kind of player they need to sign. And that's where my question comes from. When we start off, when we look at our clubs, do the clubs know what they want and what they need in order for them to play a football that they want to aspire to? Or are we just playing, randomly trying to get people inside?
Yeah, with us, it's a tricky one, eh? I think the biggest problem for me was when we signed players before we were certain about who was going to coach the team. Because I think it should be the other way around. You start with the coach, and then the coach will say, for the philosophy that I want to implement on my team, I need X, Y, Z. That will then fulfill the gaps that I see in the team. But if already you bought people and then I come, whatever that I want to do, then I have to make these people do what I want to do, which is not how it should be working. So that's the biggest problem that I saw with Chiefs. But I think with PSL overall, I feel the consistency is not there. As Usenzo was saying, with the other teams where you've seen coaches that have been there for a while, they can implement, or you know what, this is the type of play I want. If I see Undlondlo working, go Pirates, this is the gap that I have in my team. Undlondlo can feel that, so I can go and poach that type of player. But if today I have who's this guy that Abamsusele Chiefs now? I'm even forgetting his name.
Uzwani, Kevin.
Uzwani. I've got Uzwani now, and une mentality that he wants the guys to play a certain way, and he buys players, and then couple of months later he's gone, another person comes, he's gonna want to do things differently. But he's stuck with those players that he's found now. So if we leave people, I think if we left Kevin Hunt, Chiefs, for a period, because remember when he came, it was an era where we were a bit stuck and we couldn't buy players. And it wasn't too bad, to be quite honest. So if we had left him, and then he says, "Which now I can buy people. I've seen what I've got now in my camp. I think we shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." And Futi, a lot of the times you get management interfering too much in areas where they shouldn't. Because about Bobby, what do they know about? Well, from the financial and whatnot side, but in terms of playing soccer, they don't. But I feel they've got their hand in the cookie jar of who must be in the team and whom. And then at the end of the day, we as fans hold abo coaches liable for decisions that really don't have much say in them.
Isn't it also, because I want to go back to what you were saying about coaches. Doesn't this scouting also extend to coaches? Because I think what tends to happen, especially in the PSL, a lot of it is that the coaches, anybody can coach anywhere, but what's meant to happen is that, I have a philosophy at Kaizer Chiefs, or I have a philosophy at TS Galaxy, and that should inform what type of coach I'm getting. When I'm scouting coaches, that should inform what type of players I'm getting. And maybe it would be easier if these teams want to jump in and also run these things. Wouldn't it be easier for me to say, as in Mina, Ntandi 451 air taking a Kaizer Chiefs Funka taking a 451. So when we go and look for a coach and look for players, we have to look for people that fit the mold. Isn't that also an issue that every day Meles changes scouting say to, because it's change coach and approach and all of that stuff?
No, definitely it is, because if you go overseas, your team like about Barcelona, from under 13s going up to senior team, the structure or the type of play is the same. So whether kungena Pep or kungena whoever, uzofita in within the structure sabadlalayo. So you can't go now get a defensive. Barcelona will never get a defensive coach, Whereas Tina, as the Chiefs here in South Africa, we go from attacking coaches about Kevin, we go back to defensive people like about Steve Kompela. We up and down. We don't know what is our identity at Kaizer Chiefs. This is the type of coach we play attacking football, so we want a coach also enforcer. We go forward, we play Ebola, So if we can start there, this is what we want as a team. The coach that we're gonna hire must be able to fulfill what Kaizer Chiefs wants, and then therefore the scouts needs to know this is the type of play Kaizer Chiefs say. So if we want a striker, that will complement Abo Banban. Not we'll just go because at that moment that player is hot. Let's get them. It doesn't work like that.
Let me bring in Ludwig. Ludwig, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you doing? Oh, Ludwig.
I'm good on you, my
There we
brother.
go. There we
My
go.
network is very bad. You hear
Okay,
me?
no. Let's get straight into it with the network being bad. Do these teams, we're going to start with the teams when we speak about the scouting and the processes. Do these teams know what they need and what they're looking for when they go out to scout? And now, just now we've spoken with Sazi, we've expanded it. Even when they're looking for coaches, do these teams understand, or are they just going, you know what, any player that can come through the door, we're going to go sign them, or if they have a name?
Let me firstly say it's not all about the team. It's all about the, let me put this way. It's a typical example. I hire you as a manager to a certain factory. Then I give you the responsibility. I say to you, the first question I'm asking you, the company was not performing for 8 years, was not doing good. So I need an improvement from you. What do you need? What are the resources that it's required for you to do the job for me? So if you can check, I'll put a typical example like Kaizer Chiefs. The players they will sign before they can assign, they can appoint the coach. Do you think those players that have been signed are on the coach's plan? Because the coach was not even there. So it's out of this desperation sometimes where the management was interfering, like what Swazi was saying. The management is interfering even when they were not supposed to be. So it's escalating to such an extent that there is no a limit for a management to interfere, because at the end of the day, you gave me the task, but you want to control my task. So you really interfering on what I'm doing, what I definitely need to do. At the end of the day, you need a result from me. Whereas you interfering on my job. So
But
you
at
need to
what
give me
point?
the responsibilities. Let me do my job so that you can point me with a finger.
But then at what point do we look at management and say, I think my question
Can you
more
hear
goes
me now?
down to, yeah, I can hear you. I think my question more goes down to when we say to management, like management, we work in a factory, there's a certain management style that you want. You should know what style of manager you want, and then you should know what type of things your factory needs, right? But it seems as though you've got the teams signing random players, but also they're signing random coaches because they don't have an identity themselves. You know, so it's like me signing somebody who's never worked in a glass factory to make glass or to manage a glass factory, and then I get mad at that person. Shouldn't we ask these teams as well and say, but guys, can you make sure you know your philosophy? So if you want to put the ball on the floor, you know that, okay, Dan Dance can do it, coach this one and this one can do it, and those are my candidates. But now it seems as though Nabo, as management, they don't know what they want to see from the club or what the game plan of the club is. Does that make sense? The culture.
Yes, definitely. I get your point, what you're trying to say. But it's not only the responsibility of the management or the coach. Remember, there is a certain position like the sporting director. It's not a position that is changing more and often. It's the guy who knows what do they need in the team. It's the guy who's been with the team for quite a long time. He knows the system, he knows the structure, and he knows the culture of the team. He's been with the team for a long time. He knows definitely what do we need for the team to succeed. He need to step in as a sporting director to take a responsibility as well, to help the new coaches to maintain the culture and the structure of it or the system of the team. Because alone the coach is not gonna succeed. Definitely, I'm gonna tell you.
Okay. How's that? Let me bring it back in. So now I want to talk about resources. How much does resources play into what the PSL is doing? Because we're always told the story that no, PSL teams, Abana Chelete, Sundowns has all the money, all of that stuff. But on the same token, you see teams going into the middle of Africa and wonder, Test Galaxy afford to go into the middle of Africa and go and fetch these people. Is there tell me about these resources in the PSL. What do you think?
I always find it funny. In the group chat, we talking about how there's no money, then jiggy jiggy. There are billions appearing out of nowhere. These clubs do not invest in resources. And you see this scouting. You build a proper. That's why they want the polished players, and then they bring them to systems that don't work. Resources play a huge role in football. Without resources, I don't want to lie, we would be watching some horrible football. But then if our clubs really want to invest want to have success rate in scouting, that's where you must invest. You look at how South Africa is plagued with corruption, even in soccer. And this tiers, you are right. They say they don't have resources to look for players here. You saw what that nonsense Chipa pulled. Kaongola tweet about wanting them.
Open trial.
What is that, man? Like, no, it doesn't make sense. But then you start to wonder, what is the intention of these owners? Again, you go back to the owners, like what is really the intention? I'm looking at Chelsea. They're at their training ground. They have about like close to 30 pitches, and you listen to how Drogba was scouted. You listen to how the other African players were scouted. They are willing to spend to find quality. We just want the name. I'm convinced that we are buying names. How many foreign players, sorry for using that word, but then how many foreign players who come to South Africa and actually succeed? We can count them who are successful. We have your average players who are playing the Motsepe, our second division. Some of them used to play for Pirates, and then they left. Now they're able, like, we are bringing this average players, to build, and we hope that they will help us build. But then, if you buy an average player from a weaker league than the PSL, what are you really expecting? What are we really expecting? A Shalulile comes once in a while. Since we got Shalulile in this country, how many other players after him who are performing at his level, whether it be in the goalkeeper position, whether it be in the midfield or the defense, or even the strike? How many players are as successful as Shalulile since we bought him? That's why I'm saying that we are spending too much on foreign names and hoping that they will reignite. Look at the English league, what they do. They do buy foreign players, but then how many of those foreign players are successful in England? A lot. Generation after generation after generation. French players are succeeding in England. Portuguese, you name them. But then in South Africa, you can count a handful since the formation of the PSL, Premier Soccer League. Not the other leagues, but then the Premier Soccer League. You can count them. But then if you look at our leagues, our team sheet, they are full of average players. Some are even below par. But because of he's from Zimbabwe, and we know that Zimbabwe has good midfielders, wingers, we just bought another guy we don't know, and then we bring him to the country. Those resources, we can waste them in our country while we're looking like, we need a proper local scouting structure. But then we take those resources, we travel to them, to Zambia and all those players, and bring an average player who won't even last the full season. The next thing you know, he's playing in the third division. Hey, this guy was bought by TS Galaxy. He's playing the third. What happened to him? You bought an average player. And we must start being honest about the qualities of the other leagues around us. That's another thing with the PSL, with the scouting systems. We must be honest about those. Yes, we want to integrate the PSL with the African leagues, but then again, like you won't find wishy-washy scouting in Egypt. You won't find that. You won't find that in Morocco. Look at what Morocco is doing. They're trying to build a league, so you don't go around buying just anybody because he's from what's the one Yanabi, the team Yanabi. You just don't buy. Yeah, you don't buy from Tanzania because of Yanabi won the league 3 times. What if it was him, not the players? So even if when they're buying, they are not investing. They're just there. Oh, he's from Yanabi's team. Let's bring him. And then he comes to South Africa and finds that it's a different league, and he's thanking God he's leaving. That's the problem we are facing.
But surely logic dictates that it will be easier to find for a team to scout locally than to scout abroad. Why then do they use the scarce resources that they have to go overseas then? I don't understand that part.
That's my problem. I also don't get it because you look at Sundowns. Let's talk about Sundowns. You have your Allende. To be honest, I don't know what Allende is doing at Sundowns, or has he left or what, No, but then there are those kind of players, and then there was that tall white guy. I forgot his name. Till today, I remember. I know his face, but I don't know his name. Sometimes we must just be honest, man. We are just scouting because we can travel the world. That's how I feel. We are scouting because we can travel the world. You look at the Egyptians when they sign a player. You look at what they're doing. Then you're going to come and complain, Egypt has the resources, they have the monies and all those things. And you're next thing, we're going to complain about the Saudi Pro League or the UAEs and it's because they have resources. That's why they can unearth talent, But then we are sitting here with players playing for the in the third division and nobody's bringing them up. We are watching Vino snaps. He's going around the country meeting these young talented players, And then once they are 30, we're like, this kid could have played for Pirates. But then Pirates don't care. They don't care. You know, that doesn't make sense, man. I feel like it's for vacation purposes. That's why they go to other countries.
Okay, Senzo, let me bring you in. How important are resources with the scouting thing? And also with the PSL saying that most of the teams saying we don't have resources, as Namali, Sundowns, what. But then you find them jetting off to other countries and finding them. Isn't it cheaper to find players locally? So those are the two questions. How important are resources and why are teams they love going outside?
Yeah, I also agreed. Like the resources are there. It's just that I don't think our teams are using them well, and it shows even in the way they conduct their media stuff. You know, our PSL teams do a very shorty execution of giving us new kids or introducing new players or coaches, and you can see it's because they don't use the resources. The resources are there. You know, if you have money to fly to Tanzania or South America, you definitely have money to buy petrol and travel to a Centurion and go watch the Super League or go to a Limpopo and watch the Super League. It's definitely much cheaper. It's just that I feel like we don't have those scouts anymore. We really don't have those scouts, that people that can identify that what is a player, you know. It's not about being flashy. Can you do the basics right? You see it in the PSL, in the level of quality, is that some people can't even trap a ball. Some people can't even pass a ball. You know, sometimes the level of quality is so low that you're like, how is this person a professional? You know, how is this person playing in the top league? You know? So you can see that somewhere it filters through and it's not done right. So I feel like, especially here in South Africa, we need to start using, yes, you can use the eye, you know, you can use the eye sometimes to scout a player, but statistics are very important, you know. I think we need to start introducing statistics. You even when you sign a player, look at his last 3 seasons. What has he contributed? What has he done for the team? How is his general output? Then you won't have a team as big as Chiefs signing Motaung. You know, because it's okay. The statistics versus what I see in the eye is not helping. Chivaro in the last 3 seasons, what has he produced? You look at things like that. So you start signing players that can help you. Say, okay, my team is a short team, and we like to play the ball down. Who's doing the most passes? Who's most comfortable? Now you start signing according to. Then even if you have a time where you lose coaches, there is a structure in the team. So the coach can coach what he's there for, to coach. But the team has an identity, it has a structure. So you can only build on the structure, you know. We can like and say all we want, but we're not at the level of the English Premier League where you can afford to do a rebuild. You know, here in the PSL we have to do it transfer by transfer, but you have to show what's okay. We signed Ngobo because he's the best defender. You can't be signing 2 more defenders 2 seasons late, 2 seasons after, and this guy is supposed to be at his peak. You know, so I really feel like statistics we need to start introducing. That's why VAR, I feel, would have been a good initiative. Yes, it's nice to see teams watching the games now when they go to MTC. It's nice to see that, but we need more big teams going to these Tembisa things where you can find natural talent and then start coaching it and making it better. Because if you look, if you want to see the results of South African football and how it's digressed, how many players are playing in European leagues? You know, how many players are playing in the European league?
Yeah.
It's only Forster, and Forster's the one that's been doing it after how many years, you know? So when last have we had a South African play in the Champions League, you know? So it's things like that. And it's not that we don't have talent. I think we have players that could compete with the Neymars and the Haalands of the world. It's just that the level of coaching and scouting, because once you can scout players at the perfect age, then you don't need to keep them until they're 28. For example, Teko Modise. If Teko Modise maybe was found at 19, 18, Maybe Teko could have been a Champions League winner. Maybe he would have been a Ballon d'Or because he was that good. So we find talent very late. Look at Zwane. Zwane is an unbelievable player, but what if we found him 5 years earlier? 5 years earlier, what could have been happening? So I think we need to start using the resources we have. I feel like we're in the fourth industrial revolution and there is nothing that anyone can't do. These days you can just open your phone, and so I feel like teams, they have the money, they lazy to look for the players. They are lazy to go out there and want the talent, because I believe South Africa is one of the most talented. You hear interviews where Egyptian players or Moroccan players, they hate playing against South African players because we're very tricky. We're very technically good. We are compared to the Brazilians because technically we're very gifted. Imagine if you could take what we have technically and then you start teaching us the fundamentals, like close the spaces, always look at the dead man run. Don't give your opponent room to press. Things like that. We don't have that in the PSL. That's why we don't score as many goals. And if someone scores 10 goals, it will take them 7 seasons again to score 10 goals again. We have one season wonders where we have people like Gert Kalvik, and you're like, how did this man have one season? You're supposed to be a star. Or Abinali, you're supposed to be a star for a long time. So I feel like our scouting could use a lot of work so that we can start identifying players earlier. You look at the times when South Africa was winning the AFCON, the players that were coming after was Abo OJ, discovered young. You have Abo Jeremy, discovered young. Abo Leslie Martin discovered young. So you see, when the scouting is good, the top teams will perform. And it always trickles down to even the level of quality you're bringing. So now our breakout stars are at 27, 28, 29. Yeah. That's too late.
Senzo, you're still young when you're 29 in the PSL, man. Let me bring in Sazi. Sazi, tell me about resources and scouting. How important are they, and are our teams using the resources they have properly? I mean, if you can fly to South America for 3 weeks to go watch Castillo play, surely you can drive down to Alexandra and go watch a couple of players and find a couple of guys there.
We've got resources plenty. They just don't understand how to utilize them. And I feel our scouts don't understand the mandate that they should carry out for the teams. Because if you think about it, let me go to this one here. I feel Safa. Let's start with Safa.
Yeah,
Safa's killing the football as a whole, because if you look back in the day, they used to support those leagues, those regional leagues, where they used to, in Gauteng, you've got a regional league. In KZN, you've got, where you've got a pool of players. Every weekend there's a league going on where scouts can really go out and see what do we have. But now it's not really happening as it used to. Because now they're trying all the money at Safa. They don't want to invest back on the football. Yet they expect Bafana to win things. But anyway, we're not there. Now the problem comes here. If I say to a scout, I'm looking for a striker, the first thing that pops in their minds is going external, then starting here in South Africa. We've got brilliant players. If you go to a grassroots level, you will find amazing talent. Like if you look at SuperSport United, they are feeding the big teams like Abo Sundowns. They mostly buy from SuperSport. What are they doing right that all other teams can't? They're just directing their resources in a manner that makes sense. Let's go to these young teams. Let's go to these rural places. Let's go to Malokshini where they play these weekend leagues and look at these players. If we identify a player, let's bring them in. And while they're still young, I mean, if you look at Madrid right now, currently, majority of their squad is below 25. I think the eldest is 25 years at the moment. So if the output of that team for the next 5 to 6 years, you will be getting your return. Whereas here, you get a player Ezopika at 32, 28.
Yeah.
I mean, what return are you gonna get? So if they can change their mindset, ukuthi it's not about me exploring the world, but it's about me making sure ukuthi what I'm paid for, I do it. But because manje bona sebejabulela ukuthi I can go to Costa Rica and say I'm looking for a player, meanwhile I'm going on a holiday. But if they go to, let's say, let me go to Limpopo this weekend, I'm in Limpopo. I know there's a tournament happening. Let me go look. If I find one player, 100%. If I don't, I don't. There's nothing I can do. And I think they've just put it in their head so much. Let's go outside South Africa to look for players. They hardly venture into our own small ponds where we can find the talent that we need, that we actually have.
Okay. Lodrick, same question to you. These resources, how important are resources to scouting? And are our teams using the resources effectively?
It's simple answer is no. The resources are there, but they are not being used effectively. I'll give you an example. Is since the football has been changed in such a manner that now it's a business, not a career anymore. It's too much into business than being in a career anymore. So our PSL bosses or teams, they worried about the result now, not tomorrow. So those things of saying you're gonna go to the rural areas or you're gonna go to Felix games, then you go and scout the players there. They don't do that anymore because they looking at the players out of desperation. That's why I'm saying they worried about the result now, not tomorrow. That's the reason why they go outside of Africa, maybe even Europe or South America, to go and scout for players that they know. We're getting used to the ready-made players. We don't want to build our own players that we need to attain them for a certain years so that they can benefit our teams and they can get used to our system. So yes, Khoza and Senzo, I know they were talking the truth about saying these people, we are buying names, guys. We are buying names. As long as Abu Bakar, Nasia was a top goal scorer in Ethiopian league, so we can buy, he can do good at Mamelodi Sundowns. Only to find out he's not good at all at Mamelodi Sundowns because the league of Ethiopian league in South African is not on the same standard. You're gonna struggle because of is not getting used to the standard that we are playing in here. You can see its effect since this guy arrived to Sundowns. There's a lot of injuries to him. He doesn't even benefit Sundowns. So our scouting system sometimes it doesn't work total at all because it's all about business. It's all about business.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna come to you, Khoza, just now. For me, the issue with me is that, like, I feel like the PSL teams feed us half truths all the time. They tell us about resources, but then you see them go outside. You see some of the monies that are passing hands, and you're like, surely you could have done better with that money. Take for example, was it Allende, who's 56 million? How many players could you find with 56 million? Right? Sundowns went to South America and faced him. Very good player. I'm not going to doubt the player's quality. But it's like, could that money not have been used and put to better things? And that's the general thing that I get from the resource conversation in the PSL, where you're like, Mara, surely left flight, 15,000 to go wherever, 30,000 return trip or whatever. It's how many full tanks is there to go and watch some football, go and find some players internally, go, even if you miss on some of the players, maybe you found 3 of them turn out to be right. You've done something. But the teams are so lazy here, but outside, they're so keen to go out there. Khoza, You know, when I played, and I'll reference my career a lot, my under 16 career. I scored 37 goals in my league when we won our league, ne? And my question becomes 37. I was on fire. You guys don't know. So I scored those goals, ne, Khoza.
Sure.
Are we making it hard admin-wise? Because how will a scout know that a small boy from Etema scored 37 goals? How big is admin in making sure that the scouts' jobs are easier? I know in rugby they track you from when you are under 8. They've got every single stat laid out. But Tina, do we have those type of structures for our own players?
You're only speaking about the young careers. I used to play for rugby during my primary and high school. And I can tell you, my guy, by the time I went for trials for this, what they call the Craven Week for Free State Cheetahs, they knew everything about me. Everything about me, their selection, the kind of players they're looking for. And at that time, it didn't make sense to me. Probably because my school was connected in the rugby scene. I didn't take it seriously. But now that you mention it, it's showing me how some people take sports very serious,
Yeah.
I mean, guys, if we are being honest, football is South Africa's love. There is nowhere you can go where you will not find a kid kicking a soccer ball. And especially, we must start talking about what Mosimane was saying with his academy. We're saying that we are going to teach them, and I want stakeholders to come and help us progress their careers, because now we're treating football as lotto. Football is treated like that in South Africa. Whereas you look at other countries, and actually, you know what? I'm going to start saying this. South Africa is well developed compared to our counterparts. This thing of us saying, we are under-resourced, it must stop, guys. Really, because countries like Zimbabwe, they are under-resourced, yes. But South Africa, we have those, like we were mentioning the tablets, and that's, those kind of things, those statistics, we must find a way to document things. A coach go primary school must be able to say, I have this 13-year-old. He's playing in the engine league. He's playing in the schools league, and this is what he's doing. We must have an online database. Jagagadi school, like serious academies, they have those things. But then we do not want to invest our resources to progressing football in South Africa. We talk about you. I don't know who mentioned. I think it was you who was saying that like Egyptian players, foreign players, when they talk about South Africa, it's like ish. These guys, there is quality in South Africa. But then the question we must ask: what is our league trying to build? Do they want South Africans to play in their league, or do they want to progress their league? Other players from outside. Are they? Is it a PR move? Is it because to me it's starting to seem like a PR move, Everybody's going outside, and then you find players and like, Mare, guys, are we gonna be honest about now? You're looking at them like the way they're jumping from club to club. He came to South Africa to be those guys who play with the ball. Yeah, but then he's everywhere. Like, why can't we do that with our own players? And they were mentioning in here that one of the panelists was mentioning that the Lyle Foster situation.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, it's only now that we're starting to export, but then we're exporting to one league, the MLS. And no shade to the MLS, but then the Lyle Foster situation, we must start looking at it like how many careers have this PSL ruined. We could have had a lot of players. We could have had a lot of, and we can still have those kind of players. But then because our league doesn't know what it wants, first we must look at the league. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to build a league for South Africans? And secondly, we must question the clubs. Sundowns will forever be ahead of our clubs if they don't start acting right. It's like, you have these academies and all the schools that are playing, and you are not wrong when you said you scored 37 goals. My friends were top goal scorers, more engine. And where did they end up? He's studying mechanical engineering. Nobody scouted him, and it's like, what? I know he loves mechanical, but then that's a wasted talent. Wasted talent on the pitch. That guy, there are players where you go around and you just say their name and people are like, But then when you ask what happened to his career, there's no scouting, there's no. I'm like, what? Really? This our league. We need to, there needs to be some sort of intervention, man. It can't keep going on like this. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Let me bring in Senzo. Senzo, firstly, I was deadly, Joe. Jersey number 10. I've got my medals and everything. You guys don't know. Just because you see me sitting here doing this. I wanted to say, right? For example, when you speak about rugby, I was on SuperSport and I found that there's a channel for high school rugby and high school netball where even SuperSport is invested in keeping the statistics of these players and all of that stuff. How much is admin holding us back? Because I know we say we don't have scouts, but surely it should be easy for me to pull up any SAFA regional league or whatever and pull up the top goal scorers, assist makers, all of that stuff. Is admin really killing us in terms of the scouting of the country?
I'll say yes and no. The part of no is that we have the facilities, we have the pitches. The World Cup legacy did a lot for a lot of pitches around South Africa. There were a lot of anti-theft. Those plastic fields were put. The Soweto that Soweto Nike what was put there. A lot of players are playing there. So we can say yes and no. Because there have been players that have come from the Epukwini, like Mtete, who's now playing in Botswana. He came from, playing in the Rusty Dusty. So to a certain degree, it's not the administration. More so is that, unfortunately, soccer is a black spot, and not to be racial, but it's a black spot. So where you'll find your hidden gems, you'll sometimes find the school, there's 50 kids in a class, there's 58 kids in a class, so you're not going to find they have a tablet and they can and input data or have or even have a transport to take their kids to play outside of Vikasi. So sometimes our talent gets lost within because of the way our daily life is structured. But for the ones that we do have, like the ones that we do have a chance to open up, I feel like it comes to the PSL teams. I feel the PSL teams don't want to give our youngsters a chance. And I liked what they were doing with the whole NFD, would say under 23 players, you can only have 5 over under. That was a good initiative, but I feel like we should drop the age a bit more, maybe make it 20 now. Drop the age a bit more so that these players that we see in the MTC, because there are some very talented players in that MTC that we see playing week in, week out, and they don't even make it past. They don't even make it past the NFD. They don't dominate the NFD. But if you listen to European, even English football, when you hear the second division, English young players are tearing it up. From goalkeepers to left backs to, players that are owning teams right now, players that are making money moves, your Kaizer, your Lavia, your Olise. These players are commanding big money. About Jude Bellingham, they got their chances in the second division. So I feel like if we also utilize our second division to give these players, because unfortunately we don't have a good school structure, but let's let the boys that are in the structure play against each other at a young age, at a high level. Yes, I don't mind in the second division if we are if the scores are 5-4 or 3-5. The whole thing for second division is to make a strong player for the PSL. If your team is strong enough to get into the PSL, you get the money, then you can upgrade your team. But second division, it should be for more talent producing so that, our national team doesn't suffer. You look at teams like Cote d'Ivoire, you look at Senegal, all those players, yes, might be playing in Europe, but their roots coming from home, from playing at a high level. You find those kids in Africa are playing at a high level at a very young age. And that's what we need to do. This thing of thinking that we're having a 23-year-old playing in the MTC and that's a good thing, that's bad. That's a very bad thing. We need to start giving our youngsters a chance. But like I say, It's a yes and no thing, because even if you look at our politics, the people running us are old. I couldn't believe our president is 79 years old. Our president is 79 years old. So if that's how it is in the leading of the country, obviously it's going to trickle down to everything else. So I do feel that we need a lot of young coaches, let them make mistakes. A lot of people can hate Rulani, but Rulani is the next. He's giving the league a standard. He's giving South African football a name. People are scared of Sundowns all over the African continent because of Rulani, because of Sundowns. As much as we can say they're killing our league, they're actually advertising our league. You're having people like FIFA, getting interested in PSL football again. You're having a company like Rock Nations who's signed to De Bruyne and players like Lukaku being interested in Sundowns. Sundowns was invited, the development was invited to play in the
De Bruyne Cup.
Yeah, so Sundowns is a very good advertisement for South African football. So I feel like we should also follow in that business model. Chiefs look like they were going there, but look at their development team. When last did you hear them play overseas or get invited to a tournament overseas? Same can be said for Pirates.
Okay, let me bring in Sazi. Sazi, when we go to rugby and I ask you, who are the top 10 schools in the country, they can tell you. When I ask you, who are the top 30 players in each position at each age range, they can tell you. When it comes to soccer, I can't tell you any of those things, and maybe that harms our scouting a little bit. How far do you think those type of things hurt the scouting of players?
It hurts kakhulu mfana, because if I think back to my playing days, I remember there's one we were doing selections for the provincial squad here KZN. When we were playing, we were like 20, I think 20, I'm sure 50 plus. And in our group, because we're like the strikers. Because we trained together separately to the others. So Masenza Lana, I remember there was this guy Wafiga, he's colored. His name was Cohen. I can even remember his name. Wafiga, 5 minutes before the whole event ends, he made 1-2 passes, he was selected, he was off, he was gone. So which shows you politics, corruption plays a lot in soccer, whereas the other sporting codes, it's genuinely talent. If you hear stories about Makazola Mapimpi, Sabo Siakolis, you get touched with they come from like backgrounds up better, but because of the talent that they had, they managed to go so far. When with us, you hear good but as Ikula, they'll just disappear along the way, because we don't go for talent. Now for some scouts now, I feel at some point kuna kickbacks that they get for acquiring certain individuals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not they're not going out for the benefit of our soccer. It's more benefit for themselves. So it hurts in that regard. If we can just get that format, structure, say rap, we get honest people that are going to look for pure talent and in the best interest of our football, then I think we've won half the battle.
Okay. Ludwig, surely in this day and age, I can Senzo mentioned the for IR. At this stage of the game, I should be able to pull up a database that shows everyone. And I know I used my story where I scored my 37 goals, right? Not that I was going to make it, but surely there should be a database that says these are the kids and these are the paces all over the place. These are the kids that are top goal scoring. They have the most assists. They do this, they do this. Let's have a look at them. I remember getting my medal and going home. Nobody said anything to me after that. So my question becomes, are things like these admin things, not tracking players, not keeping the paperwork, isn't that affecting scouting as well?
No, definitely. No. If you can check the scouting these days, it's all about the cash transactions. We used to, yeah, in the olden days, there was this guy, I don't know whether he's still existing, the Sinkimunisi.
Yeah, he's at Raleigh M.
Sinkimunisi, yeah, that guy scouted a lot of players that we didn't even knew about them, but he lost an interest somewhere uh, because of those corruptions and cash transaction. I can say hardly that maybe he was captured as well because of he saw it as a business. So or even now, if you can check, a lot of players. We have a lot of players that are on the regional leagues that can be scouted and brought to the MDC and go to the DSTV Premiership League. But because of wena ha o tsebe ke motho, ha o tsebe yes, how you don't know by maybe Bani McCarthy, or you don't know by maybe by Pitso, you're not gonna reach there. There is no one who's gonna come and scout you because there is no business, there is no cash transaction that is involved for being there. You get my point? So the politics these days, it takes a very huge role in scouting, because you have to know somebody to be in the PSL. If you might be good as much as you good, but there must be somebody who you know. There must be somebody who must refer you to somebody so that you can succeed. We know a lot of players that could. We watch. I live in Gazi, so we used to watch the football on a weekend. So every weekend we see good players that you don't deserve to be playing on a dust level, that can be on a grass level. But because of the scouts, there is certain cash transaction that they are looking at as a business. So it's giving us the good players the disadvantage of reaching their utmost. So there is a lot of corruptions, my man, that is involved in football business now. Has been captured. That's why even I said to you in the first place that it's no longer, they don't look at it as a career anymore. They look at it as a business. So I give you what, then how am I going to benefit? This is how it works these days.
No, I
And
hear
it's
my
making
brother.
our football very, very, yes, it's making our football very difficult even to develop from the grassroots level.
Okay. I think that's why, just for my thoughts about this, I think at this day and age, guys, information is very important. And you can tell that our leagues, even our top league, never really cared about information. I was doing a series on my TikTok where I was finding the legends of South African football, and you'd be surprised how little information exists about those guys. And how it relates to scouting is, for sure, right now, SAFA. I played in a SAFA league. I've got a SAFA medal and everything. At this point, they should be going, we are tracking all of the players, right? In rugby, when you sign up to play high school rugby, there's a thing you fill out, and that thing gets sent to the region. So the Bulls are in charge of, I think it's Northern Gauteng and Limpopo. So every school that plays rugby, Northern Gauteng, Limpopo, you fill out that form, you give it in. They process those things and keep all those names. Like Khoza was saying that by the time he went to go play or to go trial for Craven Week, right? Already they knew, but Khoza has played 31 games, scored this many touchdowns, I saw, right? And for me, that's what makes scouting a lot easier. So now I can go onto a database, or SAFA should at this point have a database where I can go on and go, who are the top goal scorers in the regional leagues across the country? Okay, Sababona, Lo Usa Alexandra, Lo Usa Centurion, Lo La. let's go find these kids. Address, all of that stuff, right? Obviously protected within SAFA. But now we can go and scout those guys instead of, here's the Konintwane Shisayo, Lena, Le, Konintwane Shisayo, Le. Ukshisa wakwana, we don't even know if it's stats, but those things need to be tracked, guys. And I think that's where a lot of our admin misses. SAFA's incredible with admin when we need to go host trophies, host competitions and stuff. But when it comes down to literally, who are the top 10 schools? Who are the top 10 goalkeepers at under 10? Who are the top 50 left backs in the country? Who are the top 50 central midfielders? Where do they live? Where do they play? Have we ever contacted them? That's where you'll find gems and things like that. But if we're still going to use those old things where ubabus banbani wanglanda wangbona ngidlala Saturday yazi nge-12 October angibona ngidlala ahamba zekhaya akhuluma ne-timer lamathi no timer sizomisa ku-Chiefs, then Tuesday wangithatha. We're not going to do anything with those type of things. Those days are gone. And how many players did we know, all of us here, how many players did you know that were incredible at football? Never went anywhere, never got the chance, never got to trial, got to the trials, never got to play. I remember I was at Amatax for a little bit. I was at Amatax. There was a day we hosted a trials. 3,000 children showed up, 3,000. And only 8 were taken. You know, Brazil has a thing where they have trials where all of the big teams, they literally come together and they say, on this day, come to LC de Villiers in Pretoria. All of the big teams are going to be there, right? And we're all going to sit there and these players are going to trial. We're all going to take these kids, however many we take. We don't have things like that, man. We don't have things like that. Khoza, I want to ask you about pay to play, because the places that do have these technological advances and all of that stuff that allow the kids to be scouted and all of that, if you go to I went to a tournament a couple of months back here in Pretoria where there's Abo Sporting Lisbon and all of those guys, they sponsor these teams. And when you look at the parking lot, hey, you see a certain type of car that is parked there, and you can tell whether these parents have money. How much are these pay-to-play type of programs hurting players where you have to put together 12,000, 15,000 for your child to join this program? How much is that killing our scouting and also development? Because those 10,000, 15,000 paying kids are getting the best of the best.
You know, I would say that there's a market for both sides, you know. You want to pay to play, that's fine, you know. But then my thing comes in when you are mixing everybody, you know. That's where the disadvantages are. But then I personally do not see a problem, you know. You want to make a profit as a coach, and you know football. You know, you can bring people together who are good at football. But then you must keep up with the payments. Excuse me. You must keep up with your monthly bills and all of those. People must pay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, and it has produced a lot of players, both in the country and overseas. You know, you hear people say, "No, my father put me in this academy," and then you go look up that academy. It's written there, private academy. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, but then when you have open trials that are for free, and then when you want to use your deep pockets, that's where the problem is. Like, it's unfair. But then if I want my son to train like Neymar, I must pay Neymar kind of money. You know, that's the rule of capitalism. It's not only in South Africa, but then it's also in England. There are parks. I remember we had these conversations. There are parks where they are free. You can go and play. Your Sunday leagues are hosted there. But then there's another guy I follow on TikTok. He's from those posh areas. He's good at football, and he doesn't hide it that no, they had to pay a certain amount to play those facilities. You know, the same facilities, even better some than those free ones. And you know, when it's free, it's cheaper compared to the one you have to pay for. So those ones, well, you know, when you pay for something, it means that you have so much confidence in your child that you are willing to spend that money. And guys,
Hausa, let me tell you, the one that I saw, the one that I was working at, sometimes it's literally just parents going, hey, we need an extracurricular thing for this kid. I will pay the money. And then when he gets there, they're being coached by the best of and you can tell it's being wasted. I don't wanna sound mean, but you can tell.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I get it. It depends, again, it's those kind of things, some parents, and we see this with big private schools, some parents use that for their benefit, to connect with Mwana Mang, Mr. Mang Mang, who works at this kind of place, It's those kind of things, exclusivity and all those. But then sometimes those places do breed world beaters, I look at rugby. I trialed there was one for free, and then there was the Craven Week one. But then when I went up against these other kids who paid lots of money for them to get private tutoring and all those things, those kids were good, It depends again on the child, The nice thing about paying for those things is that Luena, you will know that here I'm just doing it for his sake, to have friends and all that. But then sometimes there are people who go there and just do it for fun and end up loving the sports to a point where they want to go pro. So it's the best of both worlds again. If it's free, then it should be free. You don't have to bribe and all those things. But then if you have to pay for your child to be scouted by Chelsea, pay that money. If you have the ability to do it, do it. But then don't use your power against those who do not have it. That's where my problem is. You're gonna take a kid from Eslalen, and then you're gonna make him travel here. That kid, his entire family is depending on him to maybe earn Boma 500. And those are stories that I've heard. And when people say it sounds like a joke, like 500. What are you gonna do with 500? And he tells you, no, my guy, that 500, my grandma could have done a lot with it. But then we started. That's why we kill careers. That kid now has to go back home. He knows he's the best. Everybody knows he's the best. But then you're gonna take a kid on that MEC, and he does not know how to trap a ball. That's where the unfair part is. Yeah.
Okay. Senzo, pay to play at development level, man. From what I've seen, we will have these academies and things like that, and the ones that are free and open trials and stuff. But the type of resources and the type of access to really world-class things is often gatekept that side. And you see some of the kids who are there don't necessarily deserve to be there, but because money. How much do those things come in?
Yeah, it has a huge contribution because, like you say, the best is kept for the one that can afford, because you have teams like Luso. I remember when I used to play in the Korleni League.
Wow,
There was a team called Luso Africa. They were sponsored by the Portuguese. You had Benfica once in a while was having their classes. It was expensive to join them, but you had the best of the best, and versus the boys that are coming from your underprivileged places, they don't have the best coaches. The coaches don't know the fundamentals, how to kick a ball, how to save. It's all do like I say, experience and not like fundamentals, which I feel like that's the things that we lack in our football, where I feel our football could be much more cleaner in terms of quality, in terms of the passing, in terms of sometimes the defending. We could dominate a bit more in the fundamentals, but we struggle because sometimes the players don't have that, like how to run, when to run, when to press, simple things like that, things that people learn in development games. You shouldn't be having a development team. I was watching Chiefs play the other time. Their development team is after the second ball. How do you have a development team that wants to mark after the second ball? You need to teach the boys the right thing. You can already see from 16, good see this one is making it or not making it. You can't tell me that at 19 you still can't see, and this person is in the development structure and he's not an exceptional talent. So sometimes the teams are forced to have that not so good talent because we don't have a lot of people who can afford. I remember even Pirates had two developments. back when I was playing. There was the academy, which is they scout the players, and then there was that one where you pay to play, and they both played in different leagues. There was a League, a B League. So yeah, man, it hurts that thing because even the ones that can afford, they don't have trials ekasi. They won't have trials ekasi. They're gonna have them in far away good places. And for me, ukusuka eThembisa ngePitori to go have trials, it's gonna be difficult, you know. So yeah, the paying aspect, especially with things like talent, it makes it difficult. I like what the Premier League does for players that have been kicked out, like at 19, if you still don't have a team, all the big scouts from the teams come, they have trials where all those players come and then they trial, and it's called Last Chance. I think it's called Last Chance, and you try there. You have players now in the Premier League who were found there. Abo Eze from Crystal Palace. He was found there. At 16, this man was told he won't make it. He had been clap, but because the structure is so good that it can keep recycling him until he gets to the upper level. For us, if a player is lost within the system, he's lost forever. There is no way to bring him back. You know, I also wanted to say, end of the year, this channel must have a 5-a-side football, because hearing these 37 goals,
Let's
37
goals.
Let's
We want to see them.
Let's go. Guys, our goal difference was plus 58. That was Cash, home sweepers, home defenders, all those teams, we played them. Plus 58.
We just lost a Penny McCarthy. Penny McCarthy is here hosting a TikTok show instead of striking for us.
Joe, I went home. Senzo, you don't understand. I got the medal and went home. No calls, no whatever. I was like, hey, let me go study. It's fine. I'll go to thingy, to school.
Maybe
it's fine.
Were you like Caleb Bushama penalty or
next? I'll open play. Henri. I used to hit it into the bottom corner.
Yeah,
that was my thing.
You want to see it, even if it's 5 goals. That 5-a-side.
Guys, no, now you guys. Lodrick, this pay-to-play aspect of development, man, because the best development places in SA, it's money that you have to pay, you know, and it ends up being a certain type of people who can afford to go to those places, and those kids may not be as talented, but they get the best facilities. What do we say about that? How do we close that gap, man?
Yeah, it's very difficult, my man, to justify that. The actual fact is that Rena, those kids baba tswang go malapeng a ba ile gore they can afford. Obviously they will succeed because ba tla kgona go ba patella to do that. But for baba tlang from the rural areas, there will be very big problems because even they don't even want to look at them because they are disadvantages. They don't have resources total at all. They don't have money. If you can, I was so touched by, if you've been listening to the story of Keshia's Maiduda, what her mom was saying. That the guy every time when they went to buy a bread, then he's taking that plastic and making a ball, kicking the ball. You are a good example, you know. You've been in tax, you know how the guy was developed till he went to Sundowns Academy and play for. He started at TUT. Is it TUT or Takis? Yes, one of them.
I think it's TUT.
Yes, you can hear the story that how the guy was scouted. It took him. It's a sad story, bruh. Because the guy was so passionate in such an extent that he went to such a degree that he has that love for a football till the end somebody came and identify him. But I can definitely guarantee you that most of the scouts, they're looking at people from the well-known towns like Cape Town, Durban, Pretoria, Joburg. So it's very rare. It's very rare to get a player from maybe in Malamulele, somewhere in regional league, somewhere there. It's very, 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 very rare. Unless if identify somebody from the Premier League, then he refer him to somebody who well known, and that guy took a close eye to that certain kind of a player and monitor his situation till it gets to the point where you will play for a PSL. So it's very, 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 for disadvantaged people, it's very, very, very difficult, man. I don't want to lie to you.
I think part of this is because, like, you used to watch them and you see from under 13 to under 17, under 19, you see the type of players that are coming in. You see the parents. Like when one of my friends still coaches there, you see the parents, and the parents are driving expensive cars. You can tell this X amount of money that they're paying for their son to be in this development is just because they need something to do in the afternoon, you know. And I think it's kind of sad when you come to trials. Like, if you ever go to a trials, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but if you ever go to the trials, the team is already full. The team has 20 whatever players. They're looking for 2 guys, maybe, you know, and then you'll find all these kids come for trials. You'll find even university students will come for trials, and it'll just be 1 or 2 of them that are taken, but they're shoved to the team that's number 7 in line, and they never go anywhere. And then you go, oh, if I had the money, maybe my child is inside, maybe you playing somewhere, you know. And that's just the sad reality of of the country sometimes.
Yeah, that's definitely the truth. I'll give an example. Maybe you were saying you were playing the football. If you were that good and playing at School of Excellence, we couldn't have known you in a TikTok. We could have known you maybe playing for Pirates or Chiefs. So because of you played on a good facilitated school that has the potential to take a player from one step to another. But if you were playing in Malamulele, somewhere in a dust ground, do you think we should have been succeeded? It's a very disadvantageous place. People, they don't even go there and look around there because they know the resources are poor. Obviously, in their minds, there's negativity of saying, no, there is no other way we can have that kind of a play in a rural area. You don't even have a soccer boots. Somebody have to borrow you a soccer boots to go for a trial.
Yeah.
So it's very sad, bro. It's very, very, very sad.
How's that? Just looking at the time, how do we fix this? How do we go about what type of things can be done in order to fix these scouting problems?
Okay, let me start with the scouting of young players, then I will move on to the league, you know.
Okay.
Pitso said it. They're enough talking South Africa. Let's start acting. You know, you have guys like Pitso Mosimane, who's making sure that his coaches are excellent. There are individuals on the ground who are making sure that they scout players from disadvantaged backgrounds, players from townships, from the suburbs, everywhere. You know, we do not lack in those departments. We do not lack, you know. We just need a way to bring them together and utilize them, you know. That will bring confidence in the scouting, the academies to pop up, you know. But then because there's no movement from the senior guys, that's where you end up in the problems of corruption and all those things. But then enough talking. Pitso has said it. We need support from stakeholders. Government must come to play. Basic education, you know, they must come to play because it's not just to keep the children busy.
Yeah.
But this can end up being somebody's career. Look at Neymar's decision, guys. Look at Neymar's decision. A young player who could have been but didn't achieve. He realized that, no, I could give my family, I could give myself the life I want, you know. That is a job as well, you know. So we must now start urging government and the PSL and SAFA to come to play, you know. And then when it comes to the big clubs, you know, I saw somebody on Facebook who's complaining that we are making Chiefs problems the league's problem, and he's saying that we assume that every club has the same problem. But then I'm generalizing here because of that's what we are seeing. You know, you won't find immediately Bonabo Jali. He failed, not let me say failed. He couldn't hack it after the third season or second season. Go Belgium. He came back. You know, but then look at the other guys from other countries when they can't take it in South Africa. There's Royal AM or whoever waiting with big money saying, come South America, come Zambia. You know, we are not. We must start respecting ourselves as a league and clubs. You know, that we want quality. If I'm gonna go travel, I'm gonna take my club say 50,000. I must make sure that I bring quality back. Not just another average player. That's where my problem lies, you know, that you could have had this player from Kokasi or from the lower leagues. You could have had that player. But then you have to spend money from going outside to bring the exact same quality. There's no improvement in that space, you know. We are looking at Ofori, Pirates goalkeeper. Now it seems like Kimang Chaine is gonna take his place. But then I'm thinking to myself, is he really that bad that Pirates are just gonna keep him on the bench or they're playing something with him? You know, I need guys. I'm not convinced with this. No, he will improve when he's in. No, guys. I mean, if he was young, I would understand that we're taking Ghana or Nigeria's star player and then Rotomo Solo Samon. But then these guys are cooked. They're matured in football language. You know, if you're gonna do that, we must bring quality. You know, we must look at Sundowns. Sundowns is always a hit and hit, miss, goal. It's always there, you know. But then you look at Botia's Galaxy. They're signing, what was his name? Edwin Jima. He used to be good, but then guys, I'm gonna be honest. That, some of these defenders who come from outside. He's big, he's strong, but they're not fit to Saleng, quick, and he's not using his physique. But then we could have had that kid from the lower leagues. That's where my problem is, you know. That we are signing average players, we are bringing them to the country, and then we are saying, oh, look at us, we are signing Tanzanians. But then Botswana, a league that is still building, what did they say about signing players from foreign countries? We want at least 3. Yeah. 3 caps, or how was it? 5 caps, yeah. But then Rona, we Gena Puma, come. Like, no, we must start respecting our league. If you're going to have a good PR, say, if you want to run a league, PR, like the Saudis. Let's take an example with the Saudis. Everybody they have signed for their league is exceptional. Imagine now. Imagine now they come to Africa and they say, we want a player from Chipa United. That immediately would ruin their PR. If we want to follow the Saudis, let us sign quality players for our PSL league. It doesn't have to be Neymar. It doesn't have to be Ronaldo, but he must be quality for our league. That's why I'm saying that these clubs must start understanding that there are standards to our leagues. Then we're going to complain about the Arabs and call them racist when they do things, when they are succeeding and all that. But then, Bonarona, the minimum we are doing, we are still deciding to choose trash. That's my problem.
I'm actually going to make, we covered youth today. I want to make tomorrow actual scouting of the established existing players, the older guys. Senzo, how do we fix this scouting problem?
Can I just say this? Tomorrow when we talk, maybe we should say, like, start naming the players, you know, like when did they come in, those stats, you know. We must look at stats tomorrow.
You want names? Don't throw me in.
Okay. Sorry.
So, how do we fix the scouting issue, man? Especially for the youth ranks.
I think more than anything, we need fresh ideas. So from the top, we need to get rid of the old management, the old way of doing things. We need fresh ideas. We need people who are excited, passionate about football to be leading football, because we are very privileged to be able to have a league at the level that it is in terms of administration. You know, we are blessed in many resources that we have, and the fact that we can sign players for 50 million, it shows how far football has gone to even attract a Brazilian like Ribeiro from the second division, which is still not the highest division, but it's a step up, you know. So we if we can start getting fresh ideas, you know, fresh new people, implement new things instead of going with the tried and tested, you know. It's taken us to a certain level, but we need to now go up a certain level. So definitely SAFA needs to restructure, the PSL needs to restructure, because when I say with fresh ideas, we need to start introducing things like every PSL team has to have a player from the development come in every season and has to play at least 60% of the games. You know, PSL teams can't have a player over 35, can't field more than 6 players over the age of 35. You know, we should start having relegations like that to force our teams to go to the grassroots, because if we don't force them, then they'll keep going for the cheats, for the easy fix, you know. They'll keep recycling players. You'll see a player leave Sundowns and go to Sekhukhune, where that position as Sekhukhune could be filled with a young, promising South African player. So
Yeah.
most definitely we need restructuring in our PSL and SAFA, so that we can start introducing measures where we say, okay, these are the stipulations to play in the league. The under 23 rule should be a PSL thing where only you have to field at least under 23, 5 players who are under 23 and South African born. You know, if you're gonna sign for the PSL, if any team's gonna sign a player from out of the country, it must be international. You must have a certain number of caps before you can sign. You can't sign Saili, who's never even played for his national team, and then and he's playing for professional. We need to say, no, you can come play for Chiefs, but you need to have at least 10 international caps. You can come play for Sundowns, but you need to have at least 10. Then we're going to start getting quality come. And once quality mixes with quality, you know what they say? They say pressure builds diamonds. You know, only a diamond can scratch a diamond. So if we have top international talent and we're having top local talent, we start going to producing youngsters which are ready to compete with the Neymars and the Messis of this world. You don't want to be hearing about there's a South African player who's scoring 7, 8 goals, but if he came here, he's gonna struggle because he's never competed with the best. You know, here's a player that came from overseas. People were saying, yeah, we all wanted him, Uzungu. Everyone wanted Zungu, but he's barely doing anything at Sundowns. He's struggling. Even when he's playing, he's struggling. So you can see that the drop-off is there. But because we have this culture in South African football of recycling players, you look at Swallows, they took Mahango from Amazulu, and you ask them, where did you take him? They took him to Msani Zuma. Why did you take him? You know, you're recycling what people are throwing away. You know, Memela was taken from Pirates, went to Richards Bay, and was going to be the next big thing at Richards Bay. Now he's at Chippa United, and best believe if he gets relegated, he's going to play somewhere else. We need to start. We need to start learning to minus the trash and keep the gold, so that our football can be strong. Then it will be easier to criticize our national coach and say, hey, bros, we have so much top quality, because no matter how good Zwane is, guys, no matter how good Zwane is, he shouldn't be being selected for the national team. Where are we going to go with him? Where are we going to go with Zwane? Regardless if the team can tick around him and he can make the team tick and he can score every game, but at 34, he is basically a lost gem. We need to be we need to be having players in 25. You know, our national team should be under 25, all of them. If you have players that are old as 28, 29, you look at the French team, the reason they're going to the finals is because the team is young. Look at the English team, is that the English players that are dominating are under your 25, your Saka, your Jude, you know. There's a multitude of players. So we need to start taking that business model and saying we are aggressive with the teams in our league, is that you need to start developing players at a young age, and those are the ones that are supposed to play. And this thing of having 35-year-olds like Sekhukhune have a whole starting 11 with over 35-year-olds, and then you're saying you are building South African football. No, guys, no.
Okay. I wanna tomorrow I wanna focus more on the older gens. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow at 12:30. Lodwick, how do we fix scouting in SA
Yes.
for youth?
I just want to be realistic, my man. The thing, Senzo was very good that we must start in the office. We must start in the office. We must start in SAFA offices. The mindset in the office in SAFA offices is very wrong because we are leading by the old people. So all they are doing is just to get the fed checks and doing nothing. We need to get competent people that will do their job. That they will know definitely when they wake up early in the morning, they know they're going to do the job and they're going to lead the people so that they can do the job. Because as much as is concerned, I can see Danny Jordaan is just sitting there because of he's got contracts or he's getting connection with some other big contracts that can give South a lot of money or what's happening. But at the end of the day, we need to get people that needs to go out like to the regional leagues, to the schools, making sure there is a school tournaments, there is tournaments that are getting supported. People who must go outside to the community and do those actual scouting. They don't do that because the head itself, I used to say, if the head is not good, the body will suffer. This is what is happening in South Africa. Our SAFA, they are very lazy, my man. The people who are supposed to be taking initiative to making sure that our development are up to standards, they're not doing their job because the head is not doing their job. You get my point?
Yeah.
And
no,
another thing that I like an idea is, and another idea that I like from Senzo is the implementation of the new the young players. I think the regulations within SAFA and PSL needs to be amended or changed so that we can have the new ideas. Remember, if we don't have the new players coming from the development into the bigger in the DSTV Premiership side, which means we don't have the younger ones that are coming from the regional to MDC. So that means the system needs to change that. We need to implement at least 3 or 4 new players into the system each and every season so that we can develop them. They can get used to playing with the big fishes so that we're building our teams. As much as that one, we're developing the ones from MDC to the DSTV. It's making a space for those ones that are coming from the regional into the MDC. We are building, we are reshuffling, we're making sure that we're getting fresh legs now and then, and we also helping our Bafana. It's very, 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 very bad in a system that we're still crying now. We're still crying now about the development of we need to get a proper scout. But in actual fact, if we can face the fact, it's so very difficult for the PSL bosses to get to a point where SAFA needs each and every team to have a ladies side. We're still even struggling to that department. Do you think they can be committed to our development?
No, they're not going to be.
It's still an issue even now.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's very difficult for them to get the ladies team, for each and every team to get ladies team. What is so difficult about it?
We'll talk. That's another one we'll talk about. We'll get to that. But it all comes down to legislation. I think if SAFA and the PSL were serious, you have to force teams to do it. You can't just ask teams to do it. And again, they lie about resources.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of the other regulations and needs to be amended, guys.
Okay. No, but
because we cannot keep on saying we are developing, but in actual fact we are doing nothing.
No, thank you so much, Lodwick. for joining me. I'm just looking at time. Thank you to the panel. Let me just jump in. For me, I'm gonna focus on a thing. I think one of the things that can be done to fix scouting of young players is you need to move away from the yazi mina ngimtholele ngamletha ngamthatha ngemise Pirates, because even if that system was perfect, you can only do so many players. In this day and age, information is the most important thing for me, right? We need to know who like, how do I put it? For me, the information is the most important thing. The more information you have, the more you can help. If we know that in all of the regional leagues that SAFA runs, these are the top goal scorers, these are the best defenders, these are the best goalkeepers with the most clean sheets, these are the players that have the most assists, these are the players that do this. Now, in a system that already exists, you have more information. And if I can find all of the best strikers in under 13 by clicking a button and they all show up, that's half of scouting done. Now I don't have to rely on Ubabuz Banbani going to go tell me Ngentwane Shisayo from Etembisa, right? Now you can just come in and go, who have the best defenses? Okay, let's look at these kids. What stats are we keeping about these kids? How are we making it? Because what you're also doing is the PSL teams can only take so many players, but if there's a database available, now you open it up to everybody who can come in and go. Maybe there's a team from Portugal that's scouting and they go, you know what, 50 goals. Let's go see what's happening there. Hey, School of Excellence, you want to go find people. Here's the database. Here's Banban, all of the people. Here they are. And now you know the best 10, the best 100, the best 50 in the country. And it's no longer word of mouth. I think that's what we need to move past. So for me, one of the things we could do is to increase the information. You know how nice it is in rugby where they can pull it up and on a spreadsheet and go, yeah, these are the 60 best scrum halves at under 12. These are the 60 best scrum halves at under 13. Then you can even follow the players and say, yeah, Motsepe played like this in his year 1 under 12. Under 13, he got better. Under 15, he got better. Under 17, he got better. Or even earlier, you could come in and say, no, that's a kid who, for the past 3 years, he's shown X amount. Now I've done half of the scouting. That's done. And I don't have to rely on Chiefs to have somebody drive down, on TS Galaxy to have somebody drive down. Just keep more information. So that's one of the things, the other guys spoke about all of the other avenues that could be followed. But I really feel like, as with anything, a lot of the problems in the country, in our sport and all of that stuff can be fixed very easily. You could even just copy and paste what rugby and cricket are doing. And that's 80% of the problem solved. But the issue is that why? Money, the monies that have to, when I bring a player to Chiefs, Konimali itolai. Konimali, Chiefs, they save by not having to go out. Now they can take that money and go do that overseas. But in any case, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. Tomorrow we'll speak about the older players. Why do these clubs keep going back to 35-year-olds and 36-year-olds and 32-year-olds instead of actually moving forward, and what informs these things? So we'll speak about that tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, Monday to Friday, 12:30 in the afternoon, Monday to Wednesday at 8 p.m. If you want to watch anything that I've done, head on over to Facebook. Please also support me on Facebook. I know the subscription here is over $100. On Facebook, it's 18 Rand, and you'll get access to a whole bunch of other stuff. Please support me. I'm not allowed to put ads on my stuff. Facebook and YouTube are not allowing me to put ads on my stuff, so I need to monetize somehow. And I hate that it has to come to you, but please, 18 Rand a month just to support me. There's other content. There's a subscriber hub. There's a whole bunch of benefits, but it's on Facebook at Overthinking Football. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you guys then tomorrow. Let's see what's happening on Facebook. Sundowns is scouted properly. Yeah, look, guys, that's why I'm like, leaving it up to Sundowns and leaving it up to the Chiefs will always open it up for things to happen, right? Again, information. If we can bring more information into scouting by documenting more of the players in the SAFA regional leagues and keeping those stats and those things, we then cut out the whole thing of Ubaz Banban has to take the player to the club because he's got a connection to the club and things like that. Now you open it up because now it's no longer in control of those clubs, of those academies, those few clubs, those few academies. It's now open to everybody. If we can definitively tell the top 50 players at every age group, right, in each position, then even international clubs might come and take these players. But as long as it's closed and the scouting process is a closed process, and the scouting process is up to that Saturday when Untate Mangmang went to go watch that tournament that one day, or Uzbanban paid Uzbanban in order to take a player to that place. When we start cutting out those things, then you'll see the best players start emerging. But if you're going to carry on having it running up to the clubs, up to a handful of people, instead of making databases of information available to people who want to find these players, you're always going to have this problem. So more information is the answer for me, one of the answers. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'll see you guys at 12:30.